So these are the slides I want to take you guys through. So a little bit about me. So I am a functional medicine nutritionist. So it's very different to kind of a regular nutritionist, because a regular nutritionist, what we're doing in sort of the field of dietetics is sort of looking more at calories and looking at more being really specific with fitting to a food pyramid and recommended daily intake and that sort of philosophy. Functional medicine nutrition is actually about using nutrition to get to the root cause of what's happening in the body. So like what I was saying in the beginning, it's about looking at the symptoms such as your skin or your mood and saying, what is that saying about what the body's state health and what the body needs to enhance health and to sort of heal itself. So really from the philosophy that the body is smart and that the body will heal given the right foods, the right environment, and the right lifestyle. And yeah, so I find this area of nutrition really exciting. I get really passionate, and I just want to tell you guys so much information. So like I said, if there's something I say that doesn't make sense, type it in for the Q&As and we'll do that after. So my business is Mind Body IQ. And so Mind Body IQ is an online functional medicine practice. So I do online sessions, and I also can prescribe clinical supplements, order genetic tests, hormone tests, and sort of look a little bit deeper into what's going on with your health and into your symptoms, different to the conventional medicine testing that they would do. So we sort of look, you know, at the body in a different way. So it's a different philosophy, therefore different functional style tests are needed. And what I do with Mind Body IQ is I've got online programs. You can work with me basically from anywhere in the world. And what I've done with Mind Body IQ as well is I've fused together the important elements of this functional nutrition, so really diving deep into our diet, using food therapeutically, but then also the science of mindfulness and how this chemistry is also influencing our entire health and well-being. And so we'll be going into this a little bit in this webinar as well, because we're going to be talking about the role of stress in beauty and how that influences your skin. So it's super interesting. So I did nutrition for Australia's Next Top Model, and that was a really exciting opportunity because I got to work with the girls and get them kind of to love food. And they thought that I was going to come in and be like, crack the whip and, you know, make them stop eating things or eat less or tell them what to eat. But, you know, for me, it's really about bringing the love back to food, bringing the pleasure back to food, not counting calories. I think that we all sort of can get to an intuitive place with food. It's not that we just like, you know, don't stop eating and don't have any sort of awareness of it, but it's almost like bringing that mindfulness where, and also resetting our metabolism, because once we reset our metabolism, our appetite is not so out of control. So if we're eating the wrong things, we're always going to be hungry. But I talk about that more in the Reset program, Mind Body Reset. I've also got a great little fun, flirty cooking show, Eat in Love, that I created with the Love Destination. So there's a few episodes on my website, sitahuber.com. So if you want to check that out, there's a watch link and you can sort of watch the preview of the first 3. It's actually just 3 recipes, not episodes. But that's going to be launching soon, so all very exciting. So Beauty Fuel, as I said before, this is what I created for Australia's Next Top Model. It's an inside-out approach to beauty. So this is based on functional medicine principles where we're looking at beauty as a sign that everything's in harmony. We're looking at beauty as a sign that there's, you know, that the outer environment, so our relationships, where we live, the clothes that we're wearing, all of these things then are good for us. So all of this is important, I mean, because we're interacting with our external environment, but then also our internal environment, what's happening in your gut, what's happening in your liver, what's happening in our hormones. And so beauty really is a sign of harmony. And as I said before, it's nourish, not punish. So it's not about counting calories. It's not about being restrictive. It's not about starving yourself. It's about bringing in nourishment for all the processes that need to be built. So you need to build beautiful skin. You need to build hair. You need things to do that. And these things are going to come from food. So starving yourself isn't going to make you more beautiful. It's going to do the opposite, where then your body's going to struggle and you're going to end up with hormone imbalances, and then you'll find out why that's not good. So I do have a free ebook for you guys, the Beauty Fuel Diet ebook. So it's a great little sort of summary, and there's a soup cleanse in there. There's a few little recipes. So you can grab that at mindbodyiq.com.au. And when you sign up for the newsletter, so just click up in the right-hand corner where it says Beauty Fuel, get your ebook. Okay, so today's intention, what we're doing today. So we're talking about eating better for health and beauty, okay? As well as that, I want you guys to understand that it's not just about like, you know, here's some collagen. This is good for your beauty, or here's some silica. This is great for your hair, skin, and nails. It's about understanding that the body will take and do with nutrients what it needs to do. So if your body needs more collagen, great, give it some. And then your body can use that to protect your collagen. But your collagen may be at risk because of stress that you're under. So if you're taking a collagen supplement to prevent the breakdown of collagen, and you're seeing good results from taking collagen, that's great. But what about the stress that's also breaking down that collagen? So we sort of need to look at, when we're looking at the foods, it's like, what does it do? What else is happening in the body? How can I enhance this? How can I optimize it? And I want to empower you with knowledge. So I'm going to teach you. And I want to teach you what things do. I want to teach you how to question things. I want to teach you that there isn't just a product that you can buy. So if you see things being sold to you, just, you know, really question what it's about. And don't expect one product to solve all your problems, because honestly, you need education to be able to sift through all those products. Because, you know, this is a lifelong journey. It's not just about dropping numbers on a scale and then saying, great, I'm done, right? Like that doesn't, oftentimes people lose weight and then still don't feel good, or it doesn't tell us about our whole health. That's, you know, our whole health and our whole well-being. And so we want to be gathering information and educated so that we can be empowered on this journey. And I want you to be able to, through this, grab a few bits of information, because I know that you're going to start to be able to connect the dots. So when you hear me talk about certain things, there'll be certain parts that click, and you'll be able to say, oh, I wonder if that's, you know, something for me. So we're having a bigger conversation about beauty. It's not just about, you know, one solution. It's about the whole integrated picture. And it also, of course, has to do with how we feel about ourselves and about the way that we look. And, you know, I think that there can be such a sort of worrying sort of obsessiveness that can come from this strive for this ideal beauty. And when we sort of let that go and just relax into who we are, getting older, you know, going through different phases, going through changes, going through a stressful period and seeing changes happen, then our ease with that will sort of help fuel the outcome that we want, which is beauty. So if we can sort of like go softly into this rather than, you know, trying so hard and being obsessed with it, we just need to sort of let it be a little bit. Go with the flow. Go with the flow. Okay, so I love describing this sort of layer approach to the body. So we basically have our skin on the outside. So I said in the beginning, we can all see our skin. Our skin's hardwired to respond to stress. And this galvanic stress response, this is what lie detector tests and stuff can sense. We've actually got electrical signals, and then we've got, you know, messages within sweat, and the skin is actually wired to respond to cortisol in the same way that the brain is. And so when the skin senses cortisol, it also goes through changes. So there are some studies on, you know, people's faces, and just the whole texture and look of the skin can change drastically through when we change our thoughts. And so this is where the mind is really, really a powerful tool. And so the way that we think and the way that we feel is so important as an extra layer of influence in this. So it's really amazing, the potential and the intricateness that's happening within the skin. There's a lot of new research on that. So it's, yeah, a really exciting area. This electric feedback loop is also delivering messages between your skin and the brain. So we're going to talk about this as well in the microbiome. So the brain-skin-gut connection. So the gut as well. So I just mentioned the galvanic response system that's in the skin. So your skin is picking up on electrical signals, and then that's going between the skin and the brain. The gut's doing the same thing. So it's really amazing. The bacteria are communicating to the brain via electrical signals placed on hormones and on other materials that are moving through the body. So hormones are communicators in the body. We often think of hormones as, things that influence fertility or puberty or our sex hormones. We think of testosterone and estrogen, but hormones have a much bigger role. So hormones include all of your stress hormones, so adrenaline and things that respond to stress, those are hormones. Insulin is a hormone. We've got, and insulin is just helping us uptake carbohydrates. And so we've also got appetite hormones, and thyroid hormones for metabolism. So all of these hormones are kind of like shooting around the whole body, between the skin and the brain and the gut, going through the liver, going everywhere. So it's a whole system, the endocrine system. And they're all carrying messages around the body. So whatever's happening in one area of the body, everything, it's like everyone knows. If we think of all the different systems, all the different rooms in the body, if we think of the body like a business, all the departments are operating together. And the brain might be sort of the boss, but the brain isn't necessarily doing all the work because we're relying on these communicators. In understanding, we've got our skin as the outer layer, and we see that. Underneath that, we've got these hormone communications. We're going to talk about the lymphatics, and then that's all sort of the lymphatic system and the circulatory blood system that's sort of transporting everything in that second layer. And then deeper than that, we've got the guts of it, which is our gut and our liver. And of course, all of our sex organs and all of our internal organs. And so we've got all these layers that all this communication has to go between. And all that we're seeing on the outside is the skin. So we're seeing how things look, and we're seeing the results of all that's happening in the body. But I want you guys to start thinking about what is happening in the body. So what is what you see on the outside? What does that mean? Like, what does that mean about our hormones? What does that mean about our gut? What does that mean about our liver? And we can use these all as clues. And so it's thinking of the skin as the outer layer, then all this network of delivery systems, so lymphatics and blood, then hormones and communication, and then also the guts of it, okay? So those are all the layers. We're gonna talk now about the gut a little bit more. So the gut is so important. So I've never worked with a patient where I don't address the gut on some level. A lot of people have ongoing gut problems and never really resolve them, and so that can be a huge problem. Because we're so adaptable. We actually can have things feel not good and then kind of get used to it. So that's really our stress response, and we have this adaptability that can be good for like moving on, but we can sometimes leave things unresolved. And so oftentimes this low level sort of stuff going on in the gut can turn into something bigger. And so the gut, because the gut has over 100 trillion bacteria, so we've got more bacteria in the gut than we do human cells. There are hundreds of species. We've all actually got this amazing diversity to our microbiome. So it's like a fingerprint for each of us. And more diversity is linked to better health. So that's all that we know. There's I think I probably prescribe about 10 or 15 different strains of probiotics. And often, there's specific strains that can be lower in different people. You can actually get tests for this stuff done by doing a poop test. Comprehensive digestive stool analysis is the other name. So you can actually find out which of your bacteria might be out of balance. But really from, just a general perspective, we just want to be encouraging diversity. And we can do that through taking diverse probiotic supplements where there's a range of different ones in there. That's generally my recommendation. You want to have billions of them because there's 100 trillion in the human gut. So taking a small amount isn't really going to influence anything. You need to take quite good doses. So the role of bacteria, so they're involved in digestion, and they're obviously involved in the actual function of the gut, but they're also involved in immune modulation. So they have a role in the immune system. They're involved in methylation, which is an important detoxification system in the liver. So the gut is actually almost functioning as a third part of liver detoxification. Super important when it comes to hormones. And mood regulation. So there's a area of psychobiotics where, we're talking about this brain, gut, mental health connection. And this is the certain strains of bacteria can influence our mood. So you think that your mood is like, because something happened at the office or something happened with your friend, but the type of bacteria that are living in your gut are also influencing your mood. It's very, very interesting. And also metabolism. So people who struggle to lose weight, people who put weight on easily, people who are hungrier, this is all influenced by the diversity and the types of bacteria that we have. So such an amazing area. So there's one thing that you get from this. It's to, really investigate your gut symptoms, look after your gut, look at a rebalancing program such as the Weed, Feed, and Seed that I do through my Mindful Detox and through the Mind Body Reset. Through working with me, you can find out more. And bacteria also extend to the skin. So we've actually got this microbiotic cloud surrounding us. So we have the same bacteria that's in our digestive system is also in our genital area. We've also got that through all the way to the mouth. That bacteria is also in the mouth. And then it also extends to the outside of the body. So we've got bacteria on the skin, and we've got good bacteria that help fight off bad bacteria. So we're just in this constant sort of interaction with different bacteria. That's kind of like, it's almost like what human beings are here doing. We're just, carrying bacteria and then communicating and interacting with different bacteria, exchanging them. And it's just so mind-blowing, because I think that we've gained this idea through cleanliness sort of practices and sterilization and making everything really clean that bacteria aren't good, but these bacteria are actually really beneficial. And so when we're looking at skin health, our microbiome in the gut is important, but our microbiome on the skin is important. And so because of that, what you put on your skin is important. And what you eat influences the bacteria in your gut and on your skin. So it just becomes this whole holistic picture. How are hormones impacting the skin? So I know that some people know that their hormones might be out of balance, and they might get like a hormonal acne, or they might get breakouts at certain times of their periods. But this is actually I want to sort of workshop this a little bit, brainstorm this with you guys, because we know that sex hormones, and when I mentioned before, insulin, adrenaline, and thyroid hormones, all of these hormones are all sort of communicating to each other. So it's like 3D glasses. You can't have something going on in one area without the whole system sort of feeling it and noticing. So all of our hormones are impacting everything. So the hormonal acne that we might have, or the hormonal breakout, it might actually be, if we looked for a root cause, it might actually be caused by something that's in the adrenals. So we might be under adrenal stress, and then that could sort of push the sex hormones out of balance, and then that might show up as acne. So sometimes the sex hormones in particular, because especially for women, we've got a monthly cycle, and so we notice the changes month to month. they're particularly important to pay attention to the symptoms associated with that cycle, because they really give us clues about these other parts of the body. And so if something's stressed us and our adrenals are sort of weakened a little bit from being under stress for a while, or if there's something going on, nutrient deficiencies or something else that's affecting the thyroid, that might show up in our period. So I've got a little pack on this where I go quite in depth into it. There's like 2.5 hours of webinars, and I'm talking there about the role of stress on hormones, and then the different types of periods and how to really pay attention to your period as a vital sign. So that's available, Mindful Hormones package, on the website mindbodyiq.com.au. And it's so important for you guys to think about, when we're talking about hormones, we're talking about this whole picture, and they're all impacting all of it. So estrogen in particular is a really big one. So estrogen influences everything from DNA activity to viral replication. It can influence like the presence of estrogen makes a virus act differently. It's quite major, because estrogen being a hormone that is often prescribed or messed with. So if someone has estrogen dominance, I would normally do something to clear their excess estrogen through diet. But if someone went to a conventional doctor, they'd probably get put on a progesterone pill, and then the progesterone would just mask that estrogen. But you wouldn't really be addressing the aggressive or the out of balance estrogen there, because that would still be there, and it would still be having these DNA and virus and detoxification and cancer cell influence. So just something, again, for you to be aware of, probably something for the mindful hormones. But this is all impacting how we look. So our hormones are sort of, that second layer that I was describing. And then our skin is this first layer that we're seeing. And so if we have high testosterone because of whatever reason, because we're not making enough progesterone or estrogen, and this would be like a high aggressive testosterone, that could then be associated with back acne, and excess oil. So oily hair and those sorts of things. So we can sort of use those clues, and then if I see someone with those symptoms, I'd say maybe we need to do a hormone profile, and then we would check for the levels of all those. The hormone profiles are like a saliva test, and they just get mailed out to you after a session, and they're really eye-opening. Like my clients that have had them done it's always great to see evidence, because sometimes we can see the symptoms and suspect something, but to get the actual test done and to see the ratios and to see where the normal hormones are meant to be, and then versus where yours are, that's a really great starting point if you've got symptoms associated with hormone stuff. So high estrogen, of course, is associated with liver overload. So when we're not clearing estrogen properly in the liver, then we might experience breakouts because of that, because a backlog of toxins in the liver sort of gets released then out through the lymphatic system and out the skin. So then that's where we're seeing it's sort of like so it's like hormonal, but liver hormonal types of breakouts. And as well, when estrogen drops, when we're not making enough, or when we naturally sort of drop estrogen as we age, that's then, changes the skin. So we get dryness, we get sagging skin, we're more vulnerable to wrinkles. So our hormones play a big role in how we look. So they're impacting oil secretion, hydration, the collagen. So it's just such an intricate sort of network. And so what we want to be doing is, when we're looking at our beauty routine and when we're looking at ways to enhance our beauty, it's not just about taking collagen. Collagen's great, but we also want to be doing everything to nurture our hormones. And we want to remember that hormones are talking to us. So our hormones are giving us clues because they're messengers. So you can just think of, if there's a feeling in the body, if there's a symptom, it's often tracing back to some sort of hormone on some level. whether it's sex hormones and libido, and I mean, it can be associated with a lot of good things as well. But or appetite and hunger, and or constantly being hungry. We'd be looking at leptin and ghrelin hormones and what's happening there. So we're going to talk about the immune system a little bit now, and the beauty immune gut response, because we've talked a little bit about the lymphatics, but I haven't explained it that well yet. So healing, immunity, and detoxification are vital for beauty. So your skin is constantly healing. So it has this high turnover. You know, when we can speed up the healing in the skin, that's actually how we prevent aging. Because the more rapid our healing is, the more intact and healthier and newer our skin cells are, and then we look better. So we can't really achieve beauty without achieving healing, which is based on immunity. And then it's all dependent on proper and good solid detoxification, so through the gut and the liver. Now, 70% of the immune system is in the gut. So those bacteria have like major, amazing roles. Just like I was talking about estrogen having all these incredible influences throughout the body. The gut bacteria are actually notifying immune cells through these electrical signals, and they also train your T helper cells, which are a major cell within the immune system, how to attack invaders. So, like without the right gut bacteria, your immune system can actually sort of play up and not function properly, and then we get autoimmunity. The liver, of course, plays a role in hormone balance by clearing out those hormones that I mentioned before. So common immune skin associations. So a lack of good bacteria could lead to autoimmunity. So often with autoimmunity, you see something like eczema. So eczema is like a sign on the skin, and that's when we want to say something's not quite right. Let's look at the gut. Let's look at, this is potentially a sign that the immune system's already sort of getting confused, which is what autoimmunity really is. It's a dysfunction of the immune system. So if someone is a slow healer or often gets sick, that's a sign that the good bacteria in the gut could be low. So slow healing, constantly sick, and poor wound healing, all of these are roles of the gut bacteria. So it's really amazing. So, and again, you just have to connect that back to what I just mentioned about beauty being dependent on healing. So for us to have good, healthy, plump, new, fresh, healthy cells, we got to do constant healing and repair in the body, and it's dependent on our gut bacteria, training our immune system, and being a line of defense. So it's all coming back to the gut, right? Block lymphatics due to sedentary life and overload of toxins. So something interesting about the lymphatics is while our circulatory blood vascular system has its own enteric muscle pump, so it's like these little tiny muscles within the blood vessels, our lymphatic system doesn't have anything. And so it's actually very similar. It basically runs alongside where all your blood vessels are underneath the skin. And you've also got lymph glands, so through various parts of the body. And these lymph glands hold a whole bunch of immune cells that then, when the lymph flows through the glands, they mop up toxins and do a really amazing cleanup and get rid of junk. And this could be an overflow from the liver. I hope you guys are following. And so if we are sedentary, then that lymphatic system can't move. So we need to move our muscles to move lymph. And this is why skin brushing, you can get a brush, or you could just use a washcloth, just do a soft massage, but actually pushing and moving, like physically maneuvering that lymph around to push it into those nodes so that it can do cleanup. So exercise, and even gentle exercise, laying on the floor with your legs up the wall, doing a hula hoop, whatever makes you happy, Tai Chi, going for a walk. That's why these things are all good, but you don't have to have a lot of energy or exert a lot of energy to get lymphatic movement. You can go lie down and just get a massage. So that's going to help move lymph. Take a hot bath as well. It relaxes the muscles and allows that all to happen. So movement of lymphatics is really, really important for stimulating the proper immune function. So if you suffer from skin breakouts or that sort of thing, you just want to make sure that you're not tightening up and tensing up. It's not just about doing that one thing, of course. It's about the diet. It's about healing the gut. It's about supporting the liver. It's about moving the lymph. It's about how you feel. It's about your own self-talk and making sure that that you're not pushing yourself into a state of stress where then all of these natural healing things struggle. So let's just dive a little bit. I just want to touch on the common gut issues. So these are things that can commonly go wrong in the gut, and these are things that I'm often addressing. And we address this in the Mind Body Reset in particular. We also do a gut detox in the 10-day mindful detox. But leaky gut is an inflammatory condition that causes the cellular parts of the gut wall to separate, and then we lose our protective barrier. So when there's inflammation in the gut, causes the gap junctions to sort of break apart, then this causes a world of problems where things that aren't meant to go through that gut barrier all of a sudden are going into the lymphatic system, into the bloodstream, and then the body is having to deal with that. So leaky gut is very common because a lot of people, like I mentioned before, we're so adaptive. We can have low-grade inflammation, and we just deal with it. Dysbiosis is that's the term for when there's an imbalance of good and bad bacteria, and that would mostly be referring to the large intestine. And so symptoms of that would be bloating, really gassy, and yeah, just sort of like lower bowel, lower sort of symptoms. SIBO is when the small intestine, so a little bit higher, gets a overgrowth of bacteria. Now, pretty much like most cases of IBS, there's some level of SIBO. So, and this is something that most people aren't aware of. And I was diagnosed with IBS for, over and over again. And through working on SIBO, all those symptoms are gone. So it was never unsolvable. IBS, I think, is a bit of a term for just not being able to figure it out. But if we actually considered that it might be SIBO and then use a protocol specific for SIBO, which we do in the Mind Body Reset, then we can actually resolve that. So just something for you guys to know. Now, the gut-brain skin connection. 90% of serotonin receptors are in the gut, and there's a feedback loop to the brain. So your gut is sensing how you feel. This is how the brain and the gut are talking. It's just like those little butterflies that you're getting, or that anxious feeling, that feeling that's in your gut that's quite emotional sometimes. That's communication between your brain and your gut. So you may be sensing something, and often these emotions and things that are happening are not in our conscious awareness, but our body has this amazing intelligence to sense them. So gut bacteria also communicate to the brain via cortisol specifically. So cortisol is a stress hormone, and so gut bacteria put messages on cortisol when we're under stress. Feedback loop. So that, and this is actually, there's also a role of the gut, sort of the digestive system sort of being down-regulated when we're under stress. It's part of the fight or flight response. And so it would be really important then for the gut to be like, hey, I can't do any digestion right now. We're under stress. Feedback to the brain, and then digestion is compromised, which is why people under stress often end up with gut issues, because long-term, not being able to digest properly means you're not, that's leading to all those things that we just had on the last slide. So I mentioned psychobiotics before. So that's the relationship between our microbiome and our mood. Very, very interesting area. So if you suffer from depression, if you suffer from anxiety or any sort of, if your mood's just feeling off, I would really recommend looking at your gut health and just the relationship between that. Because our mood's talking to us. And I think that we just kind of have this idea that we should just suck it up and we tough through, and we think that the way that we feel is something that we can help. But there's so many things influencing how we feel. It's really amazing. So how do we nurture healthy skin when we know all this? So you guys, we've got this amazing, complicated network of the brain sensing what's happening in the skin, and the skin sending electrical messages, and then the brain talking to the gut, and the gut telling us how we feel, because we're not able to consciously, communicate that, but the body is doing all this for us. And then our beauty on the outside is the result of this hormone balance, of this happy liver, of this gut balance with a good microbiome, and of our brain being, free of stress and relaxed. It's quite amazing, the lifestyle changes and how much we can actually do to influence how we look without taking anything, or getting any procedures, or buying anything. This is about choosing to eat a diet that feeds healthy skin. So a diet that feeds healthy skin also feeds your microbiome. I was in a client consult the other day, and I said, we're actually feeding, we're not just thinking about what we're hungry for, we're thinking about, is that feeding the good bacteria in my gut? Because they have to train your immune cells. They are talking to your brain via cortisol. So those bacteria in your gut have major roles. They're part of the immune system on your skin. So we want to be feeding our microbiome. We don't want to eat things that your microbiome doesn't like. So we just need to get off the sugar. Sugar and dairy are both, there's great, really good evidence, solid evidence about dairy and sugar really contributing to acne. But that said, if you are someone who's an acne sufferer and then you cut out sugar and dairy, you may also need to address the dysbiosis or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth or leaky gut or hormone imbalance that may have happened because of those foods being in the diet and that microbiome being out of balance. So it's not just about looking, it's always multi-layered. So obviously we want to balance our hormones to lessen the noise, because the hormones are communicating. So when our hormones are out of balance, it's noise. It's like they're shouting at us. So if we've got symptoms that might be hormones, we need to investigate that. Diet of unprocessed food, it's just really simple, eat real food. Prebiotics, so the difference between pre and probiotics. Prebiotics feed bacteria, so they're the biotic part. So plants, fiber, in particular resistant starch. Fats are also good for gut bacteria. Some gut bacteria quite like red wine, some like chocolate, some like coffee. So it's not necessarily, but those are all real foods and have there's evidence that the gut bacteria actually are okay with those things. But mainly we need resistant starch and short chain fatty acids, and there's certain foods that the bacteria like. So you can get that from eating a diet predominantly fats or plants, and then also making sure that you're getting enough fiber and fats. So by that, you wouldn't want to be eating just rice as a plant. You'd want to be eating more vegetables, including probiotics. So probiotics are the bacteria. So when you're buying a bottle of probiotics, you are buying bacteria and then you're taking them. So, and there's there's a whole bunch of different strains that you can take. It's good to get a diverse amount. I actually tell people to, change the bottles that you take. So if you find one that works for you, that's great. But it's actually good to sort of try a different one once in a while and just bring in some different bacteria. But you can also get probiotics. I always recommend supplements, and alongside fermented foods like sauerkraut and kimchi, kombucha, even yogurt and kefir, and some aged cheeses have good probiotics in them. And then you can use pro and prebiotic skincare. So very similar to what we're talking about, eating real food. We want to put real things on our skin. So it should almost be edible. So it shouldn't be synthetic. And there's a strong link between cosmetics and synthetic chemicals disrupting our hormones, so being hormone disruptors, and really being very, very bad for our health. So in particular, makeup that we put on and wear all day, and our skin absorbs. So when we put stuff on our skin, we absorb it. It doesn't just go on the top layer. But the skin is breathing and detoxifying, and it absorbs nutrients as well. So it's really important to be using good, clean, as natural as possible. Usually like a good quality, usually like most of the good quality brands now, as long as they're not from the chemist or pharmacy. But if you're getting professional skincare, then usually it does have good ingredients and it's quite natural. And will support that microbiome on the skin. And then we got to move, right? So we got to move the lymphatics around the body. I'm such a fan of yoga. I used to be a runner years ago, but my hips and my joints can't take it. My low back can't take it. So I've had to go from being that sort of like yang person wanting to go to be doing more gentle movement. But it's been amazing. Sometimes like with a little limitation on something, we discover a whole new world. So I do challenge you to sort of think about things that you like and just think maybe there would be a different way to do this. All right, so let's do a little summary. Your gut microbiome. So that's the bacteria in your gut, also called gut flora, microbiota. This is vital for your skin health. So anytime I'm working with a client who's got skin problems or rashes or anything, we're working on the microbiome in the gut and then the microbiome on the skin. Your skin is a part of your microbiome. It's all one. Healing the gut is important to accompany resolving skin issues. So we have to heal potentially at a deeper layer, leaky gut, potentially SIBO, potentially dysbiosis. So all those things could be going on. So hormones are the messengers, not the cause. So hormones, because they're doing the communication and because they're showing us symptoms by talking to us, hormones usually, like if your hormones are out of balance, it's probably because of your gut or your liver and not likely because of your hormones alone or something through your diet, throwing your hormones out, but that would sort of be through the gut and the liver having an impact as well. So I just want you to think of that. If you do have sort of something hormonal, some hormonal symptoms that are associated with your skin, we're going to use that as the messenger, but then we're going to be going deeper than that to look at the gut and the liver. How you feel and your stress are influencing the response in the skin and everywhere else. So like I said, that's why I started Mind Body IQ, because nutrition is giving us a good 50% of the chemistry that's happening in the body. So we are what we eat 50%, but we're also 50% what we think and what we feel and what we say to ourselves. And so this relationship with any health practice that we're doing with ourselves, with every part of our life is important. And this is all what's building our health. So if you guys want to learn more, if you like learning like this, I would absolutely love for you to check out my program, The Mind Body Reset. So I run this seasonally. So there's one on August 6th, and then there'll be another one in November. So every 3 months I'm running this. It is a 37-day program, so there's a week of prep. It's very educational, so there are 5 modules to it, plus there's bonus materials. There's a very comprehensive guidebook. There's a diet plan that you follow based on therapeutic diet principles. There is a lot of information about hormones, detoxification, the liver, about healing the gut, about leaky gut, about IBS. The program includes a one-to-one session with me, and we can discuss testing options as well as prescribed supplements that you can't get through retail. So the prescription supplements are just stronger and higher quality. So those are the ones I work with. So go to my website, mindbodyiq.com.au, or email me, sita@mindbodyiq.com.au. If you want some more information, or if you have questions, or if you're not sure if you should do the Mind Body Reset or the 10-day Mindful Detox, which is a set diet plan for 10 days, includes a guidebook. It's based on ketogenic diet principles, so a little bit different to the Mind Body Reset, but it's a good introduction to intermittent fasting and to ketogenic principles. It will also talk about hormones and stress with a focus on meditation and mindfulness alongside in that one. So thank you so much.